So my name's Andy Bramley. I'm Group Operations for RBS, Polybound and Purple Wellies, which means I basically do everything, shadow the boss and try and make sure things are run properly. Initially when we joined WeBuild, I was just a sales manager and got introduced to Dan and his team and dealt with them very closely. I'd say over the past 6 months since I've changed my role, I haven't had as much involvement as I'd probably want to be, but situations change.
Yeah, we've been working together now since, I believe it's like 2 years now when we first started speaking.
It is. Well, I think initially it was a contact from Carwin, Ben. It was probably November time in 2019, I guess. And then we started moving and doing stuff around March time. I think we're just coming up for 2 years. Is it 2 years or is it 3?
Brilliant. And we was just saying that the initial kind of involvement came from Carwin seeing one of our Facebook ads, booking a call with us, and of course we took the conversation from there. So what was your knowledge of what happened around that time? Like, what were the internal conversations like for you?
I think he initially took that on himself, and he was sort of doing stuff, I won't say incognito or in secret. He was just doing stuff behind the scenes because, running a sales team of 15 guys, 4 surveyors out on the road, and and everybody else in the office is a task in itself. So I think he just took that on, and then we knew we were having to do a lot of more marketing than we were already doing. We were both looking at different options, and once he'd made contact with you, I think he sort of passed the baton, and then I started, dealing with yourselves. Obviously first through RBS, but we also had Polybound and Resin Bound online with you and Purple Wellies. It was quite a quick transition, although he had been speaking to you for a month or so before I got involved.
Yeah. And what was happening in the business at the time that made you know that you needed like an internet marketing company?
We'd taken the company as far as we could marketing wise, both myself and Carwin being novices, as far as we thought we could do, and we thought we needed a professional set of guys in there, and you fit the bill perfectly, and lived up to that reputation over the period of the time that we've been with you.
Brilliant. And I remember distinctly, there was obviously a lot of apprehension when it was coming close to your launch, because we weren't working with one company, it was working with you across 4 different companies individually. And obviously you had very aggressive growth goals and sales goals and how many leads you wanted to bring into the business. And then finally the day came, we was ready to launch. We had all the ads ready. Do you just want to share with us like what your experience was during that initial campaign?
Sum it up in one word: hectic. Once it was switched on and the leads started coming through, we suddenly realised we weren't geared up employee-wise to deal with it. We didn't expect the volume that we got. And I've continued to get, throughout RBS and Purple Wellies, we've turned the tap off with Purple Wellies, but RBS has been, I wouldn't say steady, it's been steadily very busy, and it's kept us and our team of lads going out on the road. We've got a lot of filtering to do, and you understand in direct sales, and anybody will, that you do have to filter through 50% of what you get. It's part and parcel of what we do, how we do it. The 50% is always there, and anybody who says any different is lying, basically, because we have to go through those. So that's the difficult part of it. Excuse me. The difficult part of it was actually getting in touch with all the inquiries that we were getting, and believe me, there's been a lot of them. I think we're up and around the sort of 12,000 mark coming from you guys.
Brilliant.
I'm really curious to ask Andy. He's like, what was it like dealing with the leads before they come through compared to the influx that you had when the leads were coming through when the campaign was turned on?
I suppose it depended on a lot of different stuff, Phil. Some of the leads were coming from different sources. You guys set us up and we were getting them through Google, through paid ads. There was also Facebook campaigns and other social media campaigns going on. So, the difference in the quality of leads, was very variable through all the different ones. I wouldn't say there was one that stood out the most or one that was worse. But, what we did find was, we still had to do what we were doing. The lead is only as good as, the guy on the end of the phone and speaking and getting the information out of the customer. So we have that skill set, here and both on the road with the guys that are out selling. So, there was no great surprise. It was nice to have that option to filter it a little bit harder, if you know what I mean, to get that quality out there. We understand that there was going to be a lot of wastage as such because of, the different types of people that we've got out there, the different expectations on prices, the different expectations on the size of job that we can carry out. I wouldn't say it was a surprise. It was just more of a helping hand to us, knowing that we could filter down a little bit more to get that quality.
Mm. I think one of the things that excited me, Andy, when we started working together was that I knew that you guys did have that sales side. Because, of course, like you said, if we can just generate you a lot of leads, but you haven't got the capacity to be able to close those leads or even be calling those leads, you're never going to have like the best setup. So what was like the difference in you being able to generate leads through your own brand, through Resin Bound, through Purple Wellies, as opposed to solely relying on like third-party lead generation companies?
That was great. It was great. It took a lot of pressure off us. We use a lot of marketing streams ourselves. With magazines, with digital. We used companies like Reach for going on all those papers and Reach, doing the likes of the Daily Mirror, Yorkshire Post, Yorkshire Live, Birmingham Live, stuff like that. So that's one of the representatives. They like babies. They want babysitting all the time, and it's usually me that has to deal with them.
Was just on about the fact that like before you was getting leads from a lot of different sources, but there's a difference between generating leads through like third-party companies and like them actually seeing Resin Bound on Facebook, on Google, and then interacting with you that way.
Yeah, it was good, but I wouldn't say it was totally different. What we were doing, and as I mentioned earlier, myself and Carwyn were doing a lot of the marketing on very limited, I won't say resources, but very limited knowledge. You guys and your skill set brought that in, and the way that you marketed us and put us forward through a lot of meetings and as tool talks or whatever it may be, helped us out massively because we didn't have to think like marketing guys anymore. We could concentrate on the selling side, so it took a lot of pressure off us. We felt like we needed somebody in there to help us out, and you guys fit the bill and carried out the job to perfection.
Brilliant. And I do want to get a bit more specific on this because I've got some numbers that I just want to go through with you and clarify. But just in general, what I wanted to just understand in general was what your experience has been like since we launched those ads. Like, what has the growth been like for RBS in particular?
The accelerated growth that we wanted and expected, has lived up to everything. I think the COVID situation didn't help in a sense of we couldn't get a real grasp on any metrics on what went on, because once we opened the tap, which was May time, I think it was, and that was 2019, and then the following year we started with you. So it was around the time when we started with you when it was a year on from COVID. So I think the year on year sort of didn't really match because COVID, we turned the tap on from COVID, and everybody wanted to drive in a patio. Everybody was stuck at home. Within the first week we were having 500 inquiries, and we couldn't cope. And that was 3 months into the start of the company. So as things wore off and we joined you a year later, I think we had more control over it. The quality of lead became better. It became easier to, as we call it, belling them on or confirming the lead. It was a lot easier because we were getting more information. The way you set our new website up with all the questions that we were asking, we were already in a good position knowing what that customer wanted, the way that you'd set it up, and generally the overall sort of feedback from the customer. They wanted us to get in touch with them, so they'd taken the time to answer the little questions that you put onto our website, leading them through to asking for a call or a quote, so to speak. So yeah, in that sense, it relieved a lot of pressure.
Brilliant. And I know that, I mean, from the first couple of months, we had that new spreadsheet, and I've got the numbers here just for a month too. So this is a brand new campaign. We'd never worked with like a driveway company before.
Yeah.
And you had an aggressive budget, you had aggressive goals for the company. So I remember in the first 2 months, we'd spent £14,656. And over those 2 months, you generated £408,000, £645 in revenue, which was like a 2,788% return on investment just for those first initial 2 months. But then later on down the line, I remember you saying that you'd hit your record month back in June before we had the meeting. So can you just explain a bit more about like that specifically, like that record growth and how we helped contribute to that?
Yeah, as I say, it's quite simple. You created the inquiries and the quality inquiries, and we had a chance to sell them. The way that you marketed us, the different social media and the Google, everything changed in a sense that we were getting 3 times as many leads. You were responsible for 75% of the leads that were coming into the company. We did change some marketing strategy as the way that we were spending money with yourself rather than elsewhere. But we don't think we'd have got a return on investment from other sources as we did do with yourself. And it proved to be right. We stopped a lot of magazine advertising, we stopped some of the digital advertising, and we put that marketing budget into yourselves. And the proof was in the pudding. It basically did what it said on the tin.
Yeah. And how are you feeling now? Like now you've got this kind of system in place, this infrastructure. How are you feeling about the future of Resin Bound and Purple Wellies and these different companies?
Yeah, well, I think that you give us the confidence to move on to the next level, so to speak. I think we've learned a lot, through our chats with you and the time spent with you and your guys. SEO. Before I had our first SEO meeting, I didn't even know what it was. But from speaking to you guys, learning why and what it does and what's important about it and things like that, the way that marketing, the way that we hit stuff, I'd like to think that you've given us that confidence to move forward, because we know a little more, we understand things a little more. So I suppose it's been a little bit of an education that you've given us. But also on the flip side of that, I'd like to think that we've given you, some points to change and move forward yourselves, and obviously with trade gangs you have. Yeah.
Just run me through, Andy, because I want to just I want to actually get an understanding of like that month that you did.
So I'm looking at. Did we mention April last year that we said that was a really good month, or was it later on? I can't remember the figures.
I remember in April, because what happened was, and correct me if I'm wrong, we did the first initial 10-day launch in March, and that's what we do when we build this machine. We run a 10-day test to promote it.
Yeah.
And, I remember we had to turn the ads off because you had to bring in salespeople. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, salespeople and office staff. We couldn't cope with the abundance of leads that were coming in. Bear in mind that, I mentioned before, it was just me in the office. I think we had a couple of admin staff, but the skill set that people have on the phone and belling, as we call it, belling or confirming leads on, it's a bit of an art trying to get information out of people and not sending you guys on wild goose chases, or alternatively possibly missing something that might be there that other people are just go, it's no good, that. So a bit of a skill set there. So we needed to get people in. Obviously, you've got to get them trained and on the product and everything like that. So we had to turn the tap down, which it's quite easy to do, but we didn't want to, because you think you're missing out on possibly other stuff that other people are going to get. So let's just have a look at April. What we did in April.
Well, I've got here, and again, you can correct this, but from March, we spent £10,899 in total. And at the time for that month, you generated 79,663. Then we paused it and turned it back on in April. But because you had to take that time to get the staff in place, we only actually spent 3,756 in April. But that month, because of everyone in March who had saw your ads, you generated £329,000 worth of revenue.
Well, I've got down here gross value 322, so we're not far off there, with an average order value of £12,901. So we had 25 orders throughout April. You know, some of them, as you just mentioned, Dan, might have come over from March and moved into April itself. But you know, we could move on to this year. I know we haven't done many reports this year, but we just did short of £850,000 in. I think February this year was a really good one. Let's have a look at February this year. February is usually really quiet, and we were really surprised that we'd hit the figures that we did. Not sure the exact until I look at the report here, but let's have a look, see what it says. So we had an order count of 22 orders through WeBuild inquiries, but we had an average order value of just short of £16,000, and we did £347,000 in February this year. So that's 28 days. You know, we're usually looking at around, I'd say 350, 400 grand for the company, which, you know, is standard throughout every February, you know, historically. But to hit over 600,000 is good in February. And I'll just give you April's this year, because April was really good as well.
That was it, because you came down in early March, was it? Or was it February where you came down?
February.
Might be
February. Yeah.
It's a distant, shaky memory.
Yeah. But to think that you kind of came down here for 2 days in a month with 28 days in it, and you pretty much nearly doubled what a historic month would be.
Yeah. So April this year, 35 sales from WeBuild, £415,800, and again, but an average order value of 11,000. But you know, it just speaks volumes, you know, thousandfold. And that's, you know, that's how, you know, grateful we are for what you've done for us. You know, so just to look at numbers from, you know, 12 months ago and looking at them now, you know, they've improved. You know, we're looking on year, 300,000 plus in April, and then April this year, £400,000 plus. You know, it tells you everything you need to know, and it'll tell your customers everything they need to know. But you know, they've got to have if I were telling anybody that was going to go with you to do anything, make sure you've got the staff in place that can, you know, first of all, deal with the inquiries when they're coming in, and secondly, get out on the road and sell them. You know, whatever they're doing, however you're doing, whatever business it is, be prepared. You know, and that's what I'd say. That's one thing that it maybe took us a month or two to get into a stride, but you know, the generation of inquiries will surprise people if they come with you. They'll be very, very shocked, and they might suddenly go, "Can we switch that tap off?" Now it's so much easier just to turn it down and just to ease yourself in. But if you're prepared for it and you've got people waiting and ready to go out on the road and sell whatever, you know, product that you may be doing, I can't do anything but recommend. Be silly not to.
No, I appreciate that, Andy, and that kind of leads into the next thing I was going to go into. Like, obviously, when we started working with you and Carwin, there's a lot of skepticism around internet marketing companies, because everyone promises the world. A lot of them don't deliver on their promises. So you kind of made a decision to put faith in us, take us on our word, and now we've been working together for coming on 2 years. So for someone who was in your position, who may have been skeptical, they've watched one of our videos and they're deciding whether to invest with us, what would your advice be to that person?
Don't be skeptical, jump in. You know, looking at your setup now, Dan, all fancy and everything like that. I think when we spoke to you, were in your mum's bedroom, weren't you?
I was.
There you
Well,
go.
I was in my bedroom at my mum's house. I weren't in my mum's bedroom.
Sorry, that's what I actually meant. That sounded so wrong. But my apologies for that. But no, it's, joking aside, you're right, Dan. People are sceptical about it, and yeah, there are companies out there that do make false promises, promise you the world, and deliver absolutely nothing. I wasn't sceptical because I had nothing to judge it against. I went in with total open eyes and let's see. I was surprised that, that the amount of leads that came in, as we've just, touched on previously. It was shocking to me, even more so that I was the only one that was dealing with them all initially. It got to a point where I was pulling my hair out thinking, how am I going to actually get in touch with all these? It was absolute madness. So anybody that's considering it, even if it's just for a month, just to see if it works, it takes a month to get up and running and get you all set up. But once you're up and running, just be prepared for, a lot of inquiries and a massive, increase in turnover. It's what's, drove us forward. And 2 years down the line, we're coming up for 3 years in July, but, we're, as a group of companies, we're now pushing, which was, a startup company coming up for 3 years ago, we're now pushing as a group towards the sort of 30-40 million pound turnover mark.
Wow. And Andy, it'd be great just to get an idea of, like, when you started and all those leads were coming in, how big is the team now today? Obviously, from those leads that were just coming in, like, how big and how many people have you brought on?
Probably added, including reps out on the road, another 15 to 20 people. Business, it generates everything. It generates admin, it generates, a bit of this, more surveying, more selling, more inquiries coming in, so more people on the phone taking those. We've got extra people in accounts and stuff like that. It's just exploded. And it's amazing to think that 3 years ago we were pretty much 4 people, getting a few leads in and a fitting team out on the road. We have to get more fitting teams, as you now understand. We're fitting more work. We've got probably 15 groundwork teams, which we do as when we start the job, they prepare all the job. We've probably got 20 resin teams out on the road. We work nationally. I say nationally, everything below Hadrian's Wall, and we don't go up into Scotland. No particular reason. We don't mind Scottish people. It's absolutely fine. It's just easier logistic wise for us to control. And sometimes we have to control it even more. It gets that busy in peak season that we just try and do the middle of the country. And that's another thing, working with you guys and us saying to you, right, okay, we want to sort of cut out getting leads in certain areas. You guys can switch it on and off in different areas and use your skill set to get us leads, where we want them. And that was another thing that, drew us towards you guys and marketing for us. If we just said we wanted to do a radius around a certain postcode, can we concentrate on that? You can get us leads there, and you got us leads there. So, that in a sense, and having that control, which sometimes when you're doing blanket marketing, for instance, with different kinds of formats, it's quite difficult, especially if you haven't got the coverage in certain areas. You guys helped us out in a sense of you can target, and we have guys in certain areas, as you know yourselves, but your potential customers won't know. We've got guys scattered out throughout the country, and all we had to do was give you their postcode and a radius that they'd work in, and leads would come in thick and fast in those areas, which made it easier logistically for us. Which is always really important, not just on a sales side, but also on a fitting side of things. The installation side, the logistically tighter we can make it, the more profitable we can be.
Yeah. Well, you picked something up there, Andy, and you mentioned it earlier, that when we kind of started working with each other, especially on the SEO side, you weren't really sure what SEO was and how it worked. But one of our big achievements with you across the different companies is for the ones that we was doing SEO for, even though you're a national company, we've helped you rank predominantly on page 1 of Google for a lot of different keywords across a lot of different areas. So what impact has that had on the business, and what's your kind of current understanding of SEO after working with us for 2 years?
Yeah, it's obviously all to do with visibility and what people see when they're searching. You know, our ideal and our aim is, which, you know, hopefully we'll get there, is to be a household name. You know, if anybody mentions a Resin Drive to somebody, it wants to be us. You know, everybody's heard of us, and that's what we want to be. You know, I think household name might be pushing it a little bit, but I think, you know, given the, you know, the boost that you guys give us to push us up the rankings, and for people to see us constantly and to see our ads constantly, you know, I'm pretty sure that, you know, somebody knows somebody who's Resin Bound Surfaces, you know, and that's, you know, down massively to you guys in the way that you've promoted us, the way you've put us forward, the SEO team, what they've done for us, you know, yeah, that's pretty much, you know, how it is. You know, that's what we want to do. Our vision is to be a household name.
Excellent. So I suppose, I mean, for me, and I don't know if you've got any more questions, Phil, but would you recommend We Build Trades to work with?
In a breath, no problem at all. You know, if anybody wanted to speak to me direct, I'm always available. Well, I won't say always available, sometimes in Zoom meetings. But yeah, I'd happily speak to anybody. You know, I'll champion you guys, you know, as long as I possibly can. We'll always have a relationship with you guys. Not saying that we'll never come back on board with you, because things, you know, change, and we, as you grow, you might catch us up and suddenly say, we can offer you this, we can offer you that, and we'll, you know, jump at the chance if it had worked for us. But anybody, you know, that might be watching this who wants to speak to me, I'll chat with anybody, and I'll champion you, because, you know, it worked. We are proof that it worked. As I say, we're only in our third year in July now. And the way that we've accelerated our growth and continue to do so is down to you guys. So thank you.
No, thank you. And just to get that clarity, so 3 years ago, startup.
Yep.
4 people in the team.
Yeah, 4 people, and then they were an accountant, but we don't count them.
So just explain that. So before was what, Andy?
Before we when we started up, we had a fitting team out on the road. Well, one fitting team. So the fitting team consists of a groundwork team and then the resin team. So there'd have been 3 lads and 3 lads. They're out on the road. We need somebody to do the jobs. There was Carwin, the boss. There was another MD, Dave, in installations. There was myself, and yeah, we had an admin. So, you know, there's 10 people there, including, you know, the fitting teams, but 4 people in an office. You know, and then, you know, we started our own bit of marketing and built up gradually to get some, you know, jobs in, and, you know, and this is through experience. We all have experience in the resin industry, and I think that spoke volumes when we were building. But we knew we needed something different. We knew we'd taken it as far as we could take it, and we were looking for help and another option, and you guys were that. And, you know, the next 2 years speak for themselves. You know, we're aiming for Resin Bound as a, you know, an individual company out of the group. You know, we're looking at going for 30 million this year.
Wow,
incredible.
So 0, 3 years later, 30 million, 10 people in the team. What's the current amount of staff you've got at the moment, Andy? Any idea?
Probably just short of 100.
Wow, what incredible growth.
All across the group, just short of 100. And, you know, and the success of RBS spawned Polybound. And Polybound, you know, in case any of your, you know, potential clients don't know, are a trade arm of the company. They supply materials into not only ourselves, RBS, but also into a lot of contractors throughout the country. And they've grown massively with the help from you guys as well, into becoming a serious force, you know, and they're in the top 5 merchants to do with the, you know, the resin bound industry in the country. The online, which again you guys set up for us, the e-commerce, you know, is growing massively. It's an amazing story, but you guys have been part of it. You know what I mean? It's a major cog in what has been so many mechanics in there to make it work like it does now. You know, you guys were there, you know, I won't say inception, but you were very close. And you know, this boost that we've had to get us to a point where we're, you know, unfortunately we think we've outgrown you because of the size of the company and the way that we want to move. that's just the way that business works sometimes. But the way that you guys are moving, I want to be coming to your pad in Miami, Dan, as soon as you get a chance.
Well, you'll definitely be invited. There'll be a cocktail waiting there for you.
Good.
But no, I think that's an important thing as well, Andy, that you touched on, because it is important to remember that when we started working with you, it wasn't just you and one company. There was a resin company that done the installation of driveways and patios. There was 2 companies that provided supplies to do-it-yourself people and also to the trade. And then there was also a completely separate cleaning company. So we've got 4 different companies in different areas. And again, just from your words then, it seems like we helped you in all 4.
Definitely, 100%. We wouldn't be in the position that we're in now and me talking like this if it wouldn't have been for you guys. That's a fact. We spoke about it in great detail, and we've had a laugh about it. We've had meetings and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, fundamentally, as I mentioned earlier, we've got to a point where our limited, I won't say skill set, but our limited choice of marketing, the way we were going, what we were doing, I won't say it wasn't working, but it was sort of flatlining. That's why we looked for some help, and you guys just sort of give us that boost. You were that cardiac machine, and just set us going again. What they call defibrillator. You've never been called a defibrillator before, have you?
I have never. Yeah, that's a first.
Yeah, we were just plateauing. Let's not call it flatlining, because that sounds like we died. But we were plateauing, and we needed something else. And as everything that's in the unknown, you're taking a chance. So we took a chance on you, Dan, and all your team, and it's done nothing but good for the company.
Brilliant. Well, as I said, mate, and I'll continue to say, it's been even just hearing this and seeing like where you're at now and the team growth, it's incredible to be able to say that like we've been able to contribute to that growth. And obviously the goal of our marketing company is to get you into a position where you essentially don't need a marketing company, because you're that well known, you're that recognized. So for us to have came into you when you was at this stage where you was flatlining, help you achieve this growth in sales, in your team, and in the way you're thinking now across the different groups. It's really testament to the work that we've done, and it's been, as I said, a pleasure to work with you.
It is. You've got to put a mindset into us and how we work, and as I say, it's been an education as to how we do things, what we do, why we do it, and get the right people in to do stuff. When we joined you, we didn't have a marketing team. We've now got a marketing team. I think that's something that we always thought we might be able to use, whether it was working with you or doing other things. And through myself getting the job that I do now across the group, it's quite difficult to be involved with absolutely everything all the time. I'd love to be, but I don't have that many hats. I don't have that many heads. I don't have that much time. So yeah, you've pushed us on to expand in every way. So yeah, thank you for educating us and doing what you've done for the business.
No, appreciate it, mate. Well, have a great week. If there is anything that you need from us, obviously let us know. We're going to start this migration process. Okay. You've got until the end of June anyway. Right. So we'll use this month to get everything signed off and whatnot. And then, as I said, mate, just never hesitate to reach out. And good luck with things. Good luck with the business. Tell Carwin, obviously, I said the same. And I'm sure we'll be speaking very soon, mate.
Hey, you will, guys. Thank you so much, and it's been great. But I'm pretty sure we'll get together very soon for a couple of shandies.
Definitely. Take care, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys. See you later. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.